All right, hopefully this is working. If you can hear me, let me know. We'll get this show on the road. Sounds good. Volume down.
The UFO threat is being exposed by this former Defense Department official.
There are unidentified
How we're doing it for fun.
violating U.S. airspace with unknown intentions and extraordinary capabilities being encountered by U.S. military personnel. We don't know where they're from. We know this is happening now. We know it's real.
In 2017, the New York Times exposed a secret $22 million Pentagon program that investigated incidents between UFOs and military aircraft. The article included videos of these encounters.
We're going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west.
People could see for themselves evidence of the phenomenon. Have we been technologically leapfrogged? Could it be the Russians or Chinese or someone else?
In October of 2017, the head of the UFO program, Lou Elizondo, resigned in protest of what he says was the Pentagon's disregard of overwhelming evidence of extraordinary and unexplained phenomena. Elizondo joined forces with Mellon and other former government officials to investigate and expose the UFO threat.
We brought forward the first truly authoritative, credible military information about UFOs in decades, if not ever.
For 8 years, Lou Elizondo ran the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or ATIP, a secret Pentagon unit that investigated UFOs. Now he's working with a team of former government insiders assembled by Tom DeLonge. Their mission: reveal what they say is the truth about UFOs.
Carl Sagan once famously said about UFOs, extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. He was absolutely right. But now we have the proof. The question now is, will people look at the evidence and are they able to process it?
Let's look at the evidence and process it. We will start our deep dive with the Go Fast video. To the Stars Academy claims that Go Fast is an authentic Department of Defense video that captures the high-speed flight of an unidentified aircraft at low altitude by an F-18 Super Hornets at-FLIR forward-looking infrared system. Here is a question we have. How do they know the object is flying low? Where is the evidence that supports this claim? Lucky for us, there is enough information in the video itself to figure this out. The results may surprise you. In this video we will prove that the object shown in the Go Fast video is not low and near the surface of the ocean as TTSA, or their experts claim. And unlike TTSA, we will show you how to figure this out on your own.
This video has come to be known as Go Fast and shows an object speeding just above the water.
So, gents, we're going to play the video. I'd like your opinions on what we're seeing play by play.
The Navy's UFO videos are so potentially explosive that Elizondo wants an independent analysis of what exactly they show. Retired Marine Lieutenant Colonel Chris Cook spent a career flying fighter jets. Ross Amer flew commercial aircraft for decades and consults for the National Transportation Safety Board.
I don't want to give you too much information on these videos up front. I think it's important that we look at this information without too much background.
Elizondo's already asked them to analyze the 2004 footage from the Nimitz, but now he wants their take on the 2 videos from the Roosevelt in 2015. The Go Fast video is 33 seconds long and shows a round craft that appears to be streaking across the ocean's surface.
Can you guys hear me in the background there?
Did you box moving target? No, I took an auto track. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, dude. Wow. Look at the fly.
That thing is hauling
That's
ass.
exactly my point.
It's a little less than 2/3 the speed of sound.
But how is the craft able to fly so fast? The infrared sensor shows the object is cold.
If this were some type of aircraft with a conventional propulsion system, we would definitely see some type of heat signature. Everything we know about propulsion systems is they create an intense amount of heat.
There is no known aircraft that can stay aloft for long without a source of lift and propulsion.
All right. Testing, testing. Testing, testing.
When the Atflare boxes the target, we see it is at an initial range of 4.4 nautical miles.
That was weird.
We can also see in the video that the target is at a 26-degree down angle from the Atflare pod. The screen also shows the current altitude of the F-18 is 25,000 feet. We can use this data from the video itself to determine the altitude of the object being tracked. If we know the distance to the UAP is 4.4 nautical miles, or 26,735 feet, and is at a 26-degree negative, or downward angle from the Atflare pod, we can then calculate that it is roughly 12,000 feet below the F-18. If the F-18 is at 25,000 feet, we can determine the UAP is at roughly 13,000 feet by subtracting the 12,000 feet from the 25,000 feet altitude of the F-18.
That sounds kind of eerie, huh? All right, I should fix that.
Roger. There's troubleshooting as soon as Did you box moving target? No, I took an auto track. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, dude. Wow.
For all I know, we may be visited by a different extraterrestrial civilization every second Tuesday. But there's no support for this appealing idea. The extraordinary claims are not supported by extraordinary evidence.
The issue with this video is we are told by the Stars Academy, and their experts, the object is flying at a low altitude and very fast. In fact, the claim is the object is moving at 2/3 the speed of sound. Many have accepted these videos at face value. As Christopher Mellon stated, while quoting Carl Sagan, extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. Recently, the claims made in the videos have been brought into question by several debunkers. These debunks are not calling into question the observations by Navy pilots directly. Those coming to the defense of Navy personnel claiming that these pilots know what they saw are not taking into account that the video does not support their testimony and therefore it calls the testimony into question automatically. This is no fault of the debunker. If an expert is called into court and asked to testify about the altitude of go fast, and the expert makes a claim that it is low and fast, he will have to prove this. In this case, that cannot be done based on the evidence shown in the actual video itself. As with any physical evidence, you analyze the evidence on its own, without influence of eyewitness testimony. Much like a lab will receive evidence without knowing anything about it. The results are not biased by anything. Then, using scientific method, you have the results verified by an independent party. If asked to determine the altitude and the speed of go fast, anyone should be able to calculate this using the information in the video. Don't take a debunker's word for it when anyone can do the math. What does this all mean? Well, at least when it comes to this video, it is clear that the object is not flying low and fast and is in fact, relatively high and slow. This information does not identify what the object is, it merely reduces the number of possible suspects. Debunkers are often ridiculed for being anti this or that. If you feel that is the case, debunk the debunker. However, if you find that the debunker is correct, what will you do then? Your action at that point will define who you are.
All right, so let's kill that and let's do a quick audio check. Can everybody hear me okay? It's going to be a 5x5 or what have you. So as soon as I know I got audio working, I will start here. And anyone's welcome to come in if you want. I'll put the link up there. I'll put it up periodically so you can see it. All right, so I take it you can hear me, and this screen doesn't want to rotate, obviously. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over what started all of this. Those of you that were here the other night, you were in for a bigger treat than I thought was going to happen. That was quite amazing. So whether or not I was punked or not is, in my mind, it doesn't really matter. It was actually fun. It was very entertaining, and it is what it is. So anyway, anyone from anywhere is welcome to come in, and we can discuss any of the 3 videos that are from TTSA. I want to limit all of this talk to just the TTSA videos. I mean, we can venture out later if necessary, but for right now, we'll just stay with those. Obviously, the go fast is the one that's brought into question, and there was a lot of posts that were made in Twitter today, with people asking questions, what have you, and I've been pretty much straight out answering as many questions as possible. But yeah, that live was very, very entertaining, to say the least. I guess that's about the only word I can think of, because other than that, there was some thing. Obviously, something else was going on, and I was trying to figure it out, whether or not I was being punked or not, or whether or not this guy was really the way he was. And I didn't want to offend him, but it was all I could do to not bust out laughing, because it was quite hilarious. So I appreciate him for coming on board, regardless if he was punking me or if he was legit. Doesn't really matter. He did bring up some really valid points that I guess I stole their tic tac from him. So hopefully everybody's cool with getting that back now. But anyway, so what I'm going to do here is Tim McMillan brought up some questions. A couple of other people brought up some questions. Tim McMillan is the guy that writes the articles for Popular Mechanics and a couple other magazines. So I've talked to him a few times, and he has some questions that he brought up that if he comes in here, I'll answer them live. But where this all started from was in 2005, around February to no later than March, in April at probably the absolute latest, but I believe between February and mid-March, I got a phone call, and the phone call was from somebody that I'd known. I hadn't talked to him in probably a year or two previous to that day. And he's an AV specialist, and he's in the Air Force, and he was working on putting a briefing together based on some things that he had received, some data and what have you. And he was piecing it together just to make it look okay. I believe it was PowerPoint is what he was working in. And as he was putting that together, he was adding audio to some of the slides or what have you. and this is just what he told me back then. So I'm going on a conversation from a long time ago. And then he called me on a Monday or a Tuesday, and he said, "Hey, what are you doing? Blah blah blah." You know, the normal chit chat. He says, "Hey, I got something I want you to listen to, and I want you just to tell me what you think they're talking about." And I'm like, "Okay." So I had no idea what I was going to hear. He played the audio, which sounded like radio transmissions going back and forth between a plane and a ship or wherever it was. At the time, I did not know what plane it was, what ship it was. I didn't really know hardly anything. I just was listening to voices going back and forth. And one of those, I believe to be Commander Fravor at this time, because when he was talking back and forth, it matched a lot of the stuff. And I didn't really put all that together until Dave Beatty's Nimitz encounters came out. I wasn't, because they didn't have, there's no audio from the encounter that, on the FLIR 1 video, there's no audio to it. So I didn't have that benefit. And plus that wasn't Fravor's video anyway. A lot of people still think that the FLIR 1 video is from Fravor because Fravor's the one always talking about it. But that's Chad Underwood's video. But anyway, in a nutshell, I was later figured out that had to be Fravor that was talking because it matched what Dave Beatty was talking about. And a lot of people think I listened to the Dave Beatty thing, his Nimitz encounters, and then somehow created a memory from that. No, that's not what happened. In fact, there's an instance that I remember happened on the audio that I heard that has not been released yet. So if anyone wants to ask Fravor about it, and that is after the encounter with the Tic Tac, when they were coming back to the ship, he had radioed back asking if he could continue the pursuit of that object. And so if he wants to come out and say yay or nay on whether or not that happened, maybe that'll clear things up. But anyway, I didn't think too much of it at the time. When at the end of the conversation, after listening to about 6 or 7 minutes of the audio and him trying to piece it together, because there were time gaps in between, when things are being said. So I'm listening to dead airspace, and he would talk for a minute. But he asked me, he said, "What do you think that was?" And I said, "Wow, it sounds like somebody just saw a UFO or something." And he says, "Yeah," he says, I think that's what I'm doing in the briefing, because all he had at that moment was just the voices, just the audio. So later on, we talked about it for a minute. He hung up, and yes, he broke a major rule, and that's been brought into question as well. But he called back 2 or 3 days later, and we started talking again, and he said, "Oh, I figured out what it was. It was some new stuff we're working on. Can't really talk much about it." But he had already told me who was at that briefing as far as contractors are concerned. So I already knew that you had Air Force Research Laboratory. They were there. Navy's Research Laboratory was there. DARPA was there. Raytheon was there. Lockheed was there, and a couple other places. Some names I wasn't familiar with. So we were trying to figure out if they were making, who was making these craft. And at the time, I thought they were actual physical craft, aircraft. Moving forward, as this started coming out, I left and went on a trip coming out here where I'm at now, which is in Florida. And on that way, I was able to drop off at Plant 42, Plant 44, Edwards Air Force Base. Went to a couple other places, one of which I can't talk about. And during those trips, I had already prearranged a couple of people to meet with, and the end result was, based on the information I've acquired since then, is that the objects that people were seeing, there were legitimate objects there, but the spoofing technology is what they were witnessing. And I'm going to catch all kinds of hell for this, and I really don't give a rat's ass, because at this point I don't really care. But what it is, and what my understanding is that all of that especially the days leading up to the event, was spoofing technology that was being utilized and tested by the Air Force, and they were testing it on the Navy during the training exercise. And they did that during a training exercise for several reasons, one of which so that there was not going to be any of their brand new technology as far as the spoofing technology, because they had to have physical objects in the air, and they didn't want those shot down. So you do it during a training mission. And that's also going to explain a couple of things. One is when the pilots were receiving calls from their air control, or air traffic control, whatever you want to call them, ATCs. Once they received those calls, they were asked what their loadout was. And the loadout, hopefully, I'm hoping everybody can hear me okay. When they were asking what the loadout was, they were basically asking them, what weapons do you have on board? And each pilot that heard that and was asked that thought that was rather strange, for two reasons. One, they're during training. They pretty much know they don't have anything, but at the same time, they're being vectored to go out and take a look at some object in the water. And in doing so, they were asked, what weapons do you have? And of course, the first thing that comes to most people's minds is, hey, if they have weapons, they're being asked if they have weapons in case they have to shoot this thing down. But the actual reality of it is, from what I've learned, and in my opinion, is that they were asked that so to make certain that they were not able to shoot down these objects. So that's it in a nutshell from that standpoint. Now, there's a lot more detail to that that I'll add later in a much more detailed video, but that's essentially it. 2004 Nimitz encounter was a testing of spoofing technology, and by the Air Force against the Navy. And if people say, well, they don't do that, that would not be, that would, something would, like that would never be done. I don't know where you're getting that information from, but that happens quite a bit. Not that particular instance, but we always test technology on ourselves first before we go run out and start showing it off to the Chinese or Russians or what have you. So anyway, that's it. Anyway, so the floor is open for any questions. If anyone has any, if anyone wants to come in and talk, you're more than welcome to do that. I'll post a link up there. I did challenge our guy from the other night to come back if he wanted to, and we'll see if he does. What would be really interesting is if someone that could be serious and actually wants to try to win the 10 grand, if you want, and I'll tell you straight up, the 10 grand, is that a sucker bet? Yeah, it is a sucker bet, because you can't beat the math. The main reason why I keep harping on this one thing, and it's going to be beat to death and all this other shit, is because over 3 years, we have been told that these 3 videos are legitimate and they're authentic, and they are. They're all 3 videos. They're authentic and legitimate as given out by DoD, and the objects in the videos are apparently unidentified according to whoever set the classification for those objects. So they're listed as unidentified. Let's see here. Can everybody hear me okay? Give me a 5x5. I want to make sure this mic's transmitting right on this one camera, because the other one just went blank on me. So give me a 5x5 if you can hear me fine. It's one screen says yes and the other screen says no. But anyway, let's see here. Okay, let me know if you can hear me. And okay, perfect. Thanks, Justin. So what I'm going to, this is going to be one of those kind of, not super exciting, visually impressive shows. This is just me talking straight to whoever is asking a question. I'm going to answer any question that comes up on the screen. If you're asking me specifically a question, please type in all caps. That way I can quickly recognize that it's a question and it's not just you guys talking back and forth, because sometimes we can get lost in those conversations. And then I'll highlight whatever question I think I see and put it up on the screen. So Colin, let's see here. Start up with this account. So anyway, again, I'm not going to read out loud anything unless I see it as a question. So if you have a question, you've already posted the question, please retype it in all caps so I can see it, and I'll put it up on the screen, and then I'll go over and answer it as best I can. I don't have all the answers, so I don't know everything about these things. I've tried to learn as much as I could. You would be amazed at how much information you can acquire without, at this point in time, I don't have a security clearance. So if I'm able to acquire some of the information that I've acquired, that means someone else should be able to do the same. As the beef that I have, that a lot of people ask me is, what is your problem? Why are you so against this or that? The beef I have is that over 2 years ago, even before Mick did his debunking, I actually came out with a video that essentially asked the question on GoFast as to why they claim it's at whatever altitude speed. I didn't calculate the speed at that time, just like I didn't do this time. I just calculated the altitude back then. And have I heard back from the channel that interviewed you about the subject? Which channel? If you're talking about Jim Breslow. But anyway, with TTSA, they have said since the beginning that this object is flying low and fast, and they came back to say it's flying very low to close to the surface, and it's flying at roughly 2/3 the speed of sound. It's not, and they were informed of this not only by me but by Mick and by several other people who basically, because this is the GoFast video was the easiest one to debunk, because the information that tells you all about that craft is inside the actual video. You don't have to go guess things, unless the FLIR was completely off the mark and was, malfunctioning or something like that, which I seriously doubt. Everything you need is inside the actual video. You can take a piece of string if you want, and I'm going to verbally tell you how to do this. You don't need to learn trigonometry. If you look at the beginning of the video when it says it's 4.4 nautical miles, and I can get to a freeze frame stop here. So when you get to that one part, when the heat catches, gets that lock.
Testimony into question.
And you see it
is in fact relatively high. And what does this
all mean?
Right
here.
Well, at least when it comes to this video, it is clear that the object is not flying.
Okay, so right there you can see he's boxed the object. So this is the super. Okay, please define the spoofing tech. I will here in a second, George. If you look at your screen, you'll see midline. You'll see on the right hand side, you see 4.4 RNG. That's the range, and it's in nautical miles. If you multiply 4.4 times, well, basically, if you try to get your nautical miles out of 4.4 nautical miles and convert that to feet, it's going to come out to 26,735 feet. Now, the easy thing you can do, and I'll do this on a different screen later, is convert that down into inches essentially, and make it where 1 inch equals 1,000 feet, and take a piece of string that's 26.735 inches long and hold it horizontal up on the wall. Then angle it down 26 degrees and see how far you are off the floor if you start at 25 inches. If the aircraft is at 25 inches, you angle it down 26 degrees. And I know this is verbally, so it's not going to really make a lot of difference till I show it to you. But you're going to be about 13 inches off the floor. So that means the aircraft is 13,000 feet off the surface of the ocean. So as many times as TTSA has been advised of this, they have never actually gone back and corrected it. The other issue I have is it's essentially the first thing you do if you're going to analyze unidentified aerial phenomena, UFOs. If you're going to do that, then wouldn't you try to determine the altitude and the speed of the object? So they bring in two experts to do just that. And what did they say? The speed given was it is hauling ass. That was the speed. So whatever hauling ass equates to, I guess it's 2/3 the speed of sound. But we never get that information, and so this video, on the surface value, is one of 3 videos, and simply put, it is not going 2/3 the speed of sound. It's not going anywhere near that. It's actually below 40 miles an hour, believe it or not. It's hard to give the exact speed because of the way the plane was banking as it was moving towards it. So it's going to be a range of anywhere from as low as 10 miles an hour. It won't be over 40 miles an hour. And the distance, when you measure it out, it shows that that aircraft that you're looking at on screen is at about 13,000 feet. Everybody wants to joke with Mick West and say that he said that it was, some bird or something like that. But even when he did suggest that it could have been a bird, it could be a balloon. And I think he settled on that it's most likely a balloon. I 100% agree that that object is most likely a balloon. And it's probably one of the spoofing reflector balloons that are utilized whenever they're spoofing technology. So anyway, let's see what we got here. Not sure what channel. Please define spoofing tech. Okay, here's what spoofing technology is. I'll give you a case in point. I'm trying to remember back during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and this is all from, I don't have notes in front of me, so I'm just going to wing it. Back during the Cuban Missile Crisis, they wanted to find out where the radar dishes were on Cuba before we committed to war or what have you. So one of the things they did was they actually launched a whole bunch of balloons with reflectors on them and things like that to mimic a whole bunch of aircraft coming in to Cuba, which essentially, if you see that on your radar, the first thing you're going to do is light up your anti-aircraft artillery and missiles, and that's going to show where your radars are, and that's exactly what happened. So they did that. But what it's spoofing technology is, and there's various aspects of it. It's part of your electronic warfare package whenever you're trying to essentially just visualize you're flying into, say, China. China's the new enemy. You're flying in there and you want to give the appearance of having 100 aircraft. That's what spoofing can do, is it will give you the ability to make it look like there's over 100 aircraft coming in when only 1 or 2 may be coming in. The reasons why they would do that is if they're trying to hide the plane that has the actual package that's trying to be delivered, whether it's nuclear weapon or whether it's missiles or whatever, it doesn't really make any difference. But it's to basically give an overwhelming view of like an attack is coming so that they respond to that and they waste missiles. If you have 100 aircraft, looks like they're coming at you and you only have 2 that are real, and they fire 100 missiles, that's 100 less missiles that'll be fired, down the road. And this thing is not updating over here, so let me go back over here and pull the screen so I can see it. All right. I'll put it right here. This screen in here was not exactly updating, so this one was. So I'm going to try to go back and forth between the two. All right. Let's see, J8 says, I don't understand how this video ended. Did pilots just turn and leave? Yeah. Let's go over all the things that proves that these videos and the events that happened around them make this our own technology and make it spoofing technology. Here's problem number 1. In the FLIR video, and in this video, and in any other video of this group, there's no ending to this. You only see a minute or so of a video in the middle. You don't see the beginning of the encounter. You don't see the end of the encounter. You see some stuff in the middle. That's a problem right there. So that would make me go, okay, well, where's the rest of this? So they give us these videos with the clear understanding that obviously we're going to say, what the hell is going on? What is this? And it leaves a whole bunch of questions on the table. So that's a great question. And the interesting thing that I saw, if we go back, if I can play the Flare 1 video, but if you go back and look at the original Tic Tac video, and I'll pull it up here. Hang on. And if you look at that, which is the most famous of all the videos, and we can talk about that as well. The problem with that is it also starts in the middle of the encounter, and the pilot, who is well, I think Chad was the Wizzo, but the aircraft filming this does not go after the object. That makes no sense to me. So let's take a look at this, and I'll back it up here. And there's no audio to this one, okay? So I'm just going to tell you what's happening. So you're looking at it. It's the object is over the range that this would actually show on the screen. That's why you don't see a range per se. But this is your Tic Tac right here. Now the problem I have here, if we go back and I pause it, where's the pause button? There it is. If you look right here, that's not a Tic Tac. If you look very carefully at the center of that, you're going to see two little things that look like a little antenna coming up. It looks like rabbit ears antenna. And if you look at the very back of that, it's also going to look a whole lot like what an F-18 looks like at about 22 or so miles. In fact, I'll play that other video here if I can get to the other screen. But, you know, so if it had all smooth surfaces, then simply put, you wouldn't see those little things. Oh, finally, my cursor's actually showing back up right there and here. And they say that there's no plume. Well, yeah, there kind of is an area right here that looks just like a F-18 when it's taken off in the distance. How can it be made to appear there are 100 planes that are not there? Okay, here's how that works. When you send out a radar signal, you'll get a signal back. A signal goes out, bounces it off the object. The signal comes back to whatever the receiver is. Whether it's a sweeping type radar or whether it's phased array, which is what the Aegis Cruiser has, it's going to be basically a similar but dissimilar way. Everyone can remember looking at a radar screen. You see the little sweep, the sweep going around every 6 seconds or so, and then you can see these blips coming up on the screen, and then that tells you there's an object there. Well, if you put up a bunch of you can do it with drones, you can do it with balloons or whatever. And inside you'll have a, I'm still talking about it. I can just show it to you. I'm going to show you the website of one of the companies that makes these things. I'll pull it over there and right here. Okay, so this company is called Mercury Systems. And what they do is they make spoofing technology and various other things. I may have brought the wrong one over. Let's go back to that search. There we go. So this shows when the Navy just did their last thing, and that's the equipment right there. You can see in the center here. But the U.S. Navy Airborne Electronic Warfare experts are continuing their support of radar spoofing electronic warfare. So EW technology from Mercury Systems that can fool enemy radar systems with false and deceptively moving targets. So what you're looking at here is this is the equipment. Some of this is, obviously all of it goes airborne, but some of it goes on an object that is actually in the air. Some of it will go on a drone. Some of it you'll actually put in your own aircraft, and you can do it that way. So what it does is it uses you'll see down there it says DRFM units. What those do is that can mimic the signal of virtually any aircraft. They can actually receive a signal from an aircraft, copy that signal, and then duplicate that signal over all of the spoofing balloons if you have a bunch up in the air or whatever. And so they looks like a whole bunch of that same type aircraft coming. And they would send that signal out, and that's exactly how that works. There's a lot more to it than what I'm saying. But if you look up the Nemesis program that the Navy has, that is their program for doing that. The Air Force program, I can't say the name of it, but the Air Force has a similar program. In fact, the Air Force had their program before the Navy did. But the Navy's Nemesis system is very similar, except the Navy's variation obviously works, for their type of equipment. But this equipment has to be tested. And if you look at the date that these contracts were done, this was in June of 2017. So that's the Navy ordering actually finished product, which means they were testing it probably a couple years before, which puts it right at 2015 and right off the east coast of Florida. And that's most likely you were looking at various spoofing technologies that were utilized against the Roosevelt carrier group back then. I have contacted Mercury Systems. I have received 2 emails back. Neither of the emails gave me the information that I was looking for, but luckily I got more information from well, I won't say how many contacts. So the contacts that I have with Raytheon, essentially confirming that most of everything that I was thinking during my conversation with them that I was saying out loud was pretty much confirmed. There's a couple of things I was off on that I don't know the correct answer because they wouldn't give me the correct answer, but the things that I was spot on, I was pretty much told I was right. So let me go down here. Where is the solid poop at? Oh, solid. Who knows? He's probably, like everybody should be on a Sunday afternoon out with your family, what have you. But anyway, that's it there. So the technology exists. They admit that they've been buying this stuff. They admit, obviously, if they're buying it, that means they're using it and that they have tested it. And where else are you going to test it? The Navy tested it on the Navy on the East Coast with the Roosevelt Group. As Roosevelt upgraded its Spy 1 radar, they had a reason to come in to the location and actually put this, they were able to put, I can't even say that. Never mind. Let's just say that the reason why they needed to get the data bricks off of the Nimitz was because it would show telltale signs of manipulation of the system, so to speak. They even rebooted the system, and then the tracks came back, which in the mind of Kevin Day and Voorhees and all these other guys, that to them, getting a clearer signal meant that means that these objects are actually there. And some of the objects were actually there. But if you have a balloon at, say, 80,000 feet or 28,000 feet and another one near the surface, and they all have DRFMs on board, then the balloon that's at, say, 28,000 feet can broadcast a signal to make it look like a certain aircraft. And then the balloon that's at 50 feet over the water can also take that signal. So you have the balloon at 28,000 feet flashing its signal, turns off, boom, the balloon at 50 feet turns on and starts broadcasting the same signal. So your radar system is going to believe that object moved from 28,000 feet to 50 feet in 0.78 seconds. Now, what's easier to believe, that an actual object moved that fast, or that you had 2 objects both transmitting the same signal, one just before the other, and it made it look just like Christmas lights? I know this is going to come back and haunt me because some of the analogies I use, but just like Christmas lights, you see them chase, lights chase each other, on your Christmas lights, or whatever. That's essentially, if you could visualize that, that's how some of the spoofing technology works. You have balloons or whatever at different distances, or you have an aircraft that's carrying these DRFMs, and they transmit those signals. And if one is 20 miles away from another one, and one transmits the signal and then turns it off, and then the next aircraft picks it up and transmits the same signal, it's going to appear that aircraft moved that distance in whatever the amount of time that they choose, which is going to make it appear that these things are moving at ridiculous speeds. Now, I don't want to get too much into the eyewitness testimony to sit there and go, well, what about the guys that said they saw them and they saw the objects dancing around? You probably did see some objects dancing around. Same exact effect. Why they would do this with the balloons, you know, doesn't make a lot of sense. But I really hate to say that the things that these guys were seeing were probably not what they thought that it was. But at the same time, that's what I found out. So I found out that information. I'm going to report it to you. Take it or leave it. Doesn't really matter. At some point in time, this is all going to come out, you know, a year from now. Because remember, a year ago, when I actually came out on Breslow's show and said this, you know, minus the flying on the Tic Tac, you know, story, the story back then was still basically the same. It was Air Force technology. You had 4 people on those ships. 2 people that were in plain clothes were from Raytheon, or maybe one was Raytheon, one was the other. And then 2 people that were from the Air Force, and those people were from the Air Force Research Laboratory, from my understanding. And they were there to get the information and the data off the ships so that it can be analyzed as quickly as possible, plus so that the guys on board the ship could not figure out what it was. Wooden balloons released stop moving on radar, just seem to freeze in midair. Yeah, that's why you put so many balloons up. So they're not getting an actual radar reflection necessarily from the balloon. The balloon has these, if you see here, I'll read it to you. DRFM technology has several unique features for covert electronic warfare applications. First, it provides a coherent time delay of RF signals in applications like radar and electronic warfare. It also produces a coherent deception jamming to an enemy radar system by replaying a captured radar pulse, and with a small delay, which makes the target appear to move. So it's telling you right there that it's able to pretend like it's or uses the radar pulse, creates a small delay between one unit and another, and it gives the appearance that the object is actually moving. DRFM also can modulate captured pulse data in amplitude and frequency and phase to provide other effects. A Doppler shift correlates range and range rate trackers in the radar. DRFM also can replay captured radar pulses many times to fool the radar into perceiving many targets. Small packages, fast response, and large volumes of low latency computer power defined modern DRFM evolution. Mercury officials say, blah, blah, blah. That's just them talking about the size and stuff like that. So this is just one of the manufacturers. Now, this manufacturer was not making the devices that were used back at the Nimitz event. So I just want to be very clear. The objects that were apparently off the east coast of Jacksonville, those were most likely made by Mercury Systems. It could be another company out there. There's probably several contractors that make these. Actually, there are several contractors. And guess what one of the contractors happens to be? Raytheon, the same company that makes the AT-FLIR, which is the your long-range forward-looking infrared that was actually able to film the Tic Tac. So that's what you're looking at. How can they make a balloon disappear, not reflects its radar bounce? If you weather balloons and this type of balloon are similar in how they operate, but they're dissimilar in what their function is. Because a lot of people are saying, well, you're saying it's a weather balloon. No, I'm not saying it's a weather balloon. I'm saying it's a balloon. But inside that balloon is a reflector and also some of the equipment that you see here on Mercury Systems page. So these objects, to make them disappear, all you do is you turn the reflector or pinch. It's called pinching when you close solar panels on a satellite. So you pinch the panel, and that reflector goes away, and then you've got a balloon that doesn't really show up well on radar to begin with. Now, Spy 1 radar will pick it up, and people out there with much more knowledge about the Spy 1 system than I have hopefully can explain some of this, but at the same time, they're not going to want to believe that their system was fooled and spoofed, and it was. The Air Force, the Navy, or military is not going to come out and say, yes, we were doing this and we were able to spoof our own systems and these guys fell for it. because that would present a problem. Why am I saying it? I'm saying it because these guys wanted answers. I wanted answers. I found what I think is the answer. I've had conversations with people that at a couple of facilities, shall remain nameless at the moment. And they essentially verified that, yes, that's in fact what they were working on. And they were working on the Air Force's version of it back in early 2000, late 90s, early 2000s. And the technology has definitely caught up and become a whole lot better. And now they tested it most recently, I guess, off the east coast of Florida. And that's what you saw with the Roosevelt Group. So hopefully some of this makes sense. I get frustrated when I see guys like Mick West, who's done an awful lot of work, a ton more work than I've done on debunking these things. And people are saying that I'm copying him and I'm doing this or whatever. No, I've been saying since day one that he's, it's his stuff. And I peer reviewed the Go Fast, and I just went ahead and stopped because, some of these people on the other side just want to attack. That's fine. Attack all you want. I don't really care, because you can't debunk this at all. That's why I put the 10 grand up. There's no way you can debunk what I'm saying right now. The problem I have, again, is back to TTSA. They've been saying the same thing over and over since they put that video out, that this object is low and fast, and it's simply just not the case. They should correct that. If they are a scientific or a science-based organization, as they claim, then as with all science, if you find out that your information is wrong, you correct it. In the very beginning, I was real polite about it. I said, hey, blah, 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 I found this. I even sent a private email to them explaining it. I didn't get an email back. That's fine. They never changed it. Okay, so we have to get louder. Mick was doing his videos. Mick did a very good, a way better video than my video on the Go Fast. So if you have a chance, look at Mick West. I'll put a link in the description, and look at his videos that go back and debunk this stuff. And he doesn't get the respect he deserves, for all of the work he did answering so many questions that they proposed to him, basically trying to make him look like an idiot, trying to make me look like an idiot. Good luck with that, because Mick is right and I'm right, especially when it comes to this particular video. And I just don't understand how an organization that comes out and makes all these claims that they want to do all these wonderful things for the UFO community, perpetuate what they know is false, and they can sue me if they want. If I'm lying right now, if everything I'm saying is so bad and so wrong, sue me. Please sue me. Because if you do, that opens up a whole bunch of other stuff, can of worms for yourself. But I hope you do, because you simply will not win, because what I'm saying is true. The fact is that craft that on the Go Fast video is at about 13,000 feet based on the information that it shows inside the video itself. The video debunks itself. Let's see here. The point is that you don't have enough data to conclusively say one or another. I have enough data on Go Fast to summarily tell you this. It is absolutely not doing the characteristics, or having the flight characteristics that they claim. It's obviously not near the surface, and it's obviously not moving at the speed they claim, which is 2/3 the speed of sound. And actually, Mick did, take a look at his video. Mick West, again, I'll put the link in the description, or you can just search Mick West Go Fast and you'll find it. And obviously the video that we showed at the beginning of this. When you look at the FLIR video, which is the Tic Tac, which is the one that everyone pretty much harbors around, what have you, because there's so much interaction. with the sailors on that adds a lot of validity to it. I'm not saying that the sailors did not see and the pilots did not see what they say they saw. They probably did see all the objects they claimed that they saw. I just firmly believe that the objects did not present or do things that were extraordinary. And if you think about it, not one of these 3 videos, not one, shows any of the objects doing anything that's beyond, number one, beyond the laws of physics, and number 2, none of it is extraordinary. It's all boring stuff. If you go and take a look at these videos, you'll see not one video shows these objects doing anything amazing at all. So, yeah, it makes more sense than aliens and not simple thing, but yeah, more likely. Yeah, the thing is that it's our military technology, and I think earlier I alluded to saying that I can basically prove why it's nothing else. We were told that during the Nimitz event, that they had for over 2 weeks having these objects that were floating out of the sky, coming down over San Clemente Island, which, if you're not familiar with Southern California, it's right off the coast of Los Angeles. So you have San Clemente Island out there, and you also have, another island right behind it. And San Clemente Island is an island where what is there? Oh, a Navy base. Imagine that. So you have 2 Navy bases that are there, and then you have these objects that appear from San Clemente Island, float down. They're coming down at about 120 knots, which is, or 100 knots, which is basically about 120 some miles an hour. And which is too slow for, alien spacecraft or commercial craft or at all. And it's not a normal commercial route. And so these things are coming in, apparently, according to Kevin Day, in groups of 5 to 10. And as they move across, some of them would blink out and go down to the surface of the water super fast. He said that it happened in 0.78 seconds, which, if you calculate that out using whatever math you want, it comes out to about 24,000 miles an hour. That's pretty quick. But that's most likely not what happened. Most likely what happened was you had either balloons at various altitudes, or the DRFMs, which you saw over here, can actually transmit a signal with the Doppler delay. And at some point in time, I'll explain all this stuff. But with a Doppler delay built into the signal that it's sending out, one object can make it appear that it is either multiple objects, and one object can make it appear that it's moving, even when it's not moving, simply by broadcasting the signal with the Doppler effect. So it's pretty interesting technology to be able to send out a signal that mimics the exact radar signal of a specific plane, and also to mimic it moving even when you're not, because these balloons are obviously not moving at speeds that would probably scare, hey bear, would scare anybody. But yeah, TTSA, Preston says, I can just highlight these damn things. I keep forgetting that I've got the software. All right, so show some of the questions that are. He agrees that it's something that should be addressed by them. I would very much like to see TTSA at some point in time address the issue, at least with Go Fast, because the other 2 videos are a bit more controversial. The other 2 are a little bit harder to explain. But Go Fast is done. That it's over. It's still unidentified, if you want to call it that, but it simply is not doing the things that they claim it's doing. And if it was an alien spacecraft, why didn't these guys keep chasing it? And if it was Russian or Chinese technology, again, well, why didn't these guys keep chasing it? When you go look at the FLIR video, you got Chad Underwood. His aircraft is cruising along at, say, 255 knots. Just not really, no sense of urgency to catch up to these things. There was no sense of urgency to even get closer to get a better video. All we get is that same fuzzy ass video that we're also used to seeing whenever we see UFO videos. Very rarely do you see a super clear picture. It's just like the old Sasquatch Bigfoot video and pictures. It's just like Loch Ness Monster, all these other things that we all grew up with. And so here we are yet again, and a whole group of people, which is that UFO community, which, you know, I have no problem with, but they latch onto these things and then they just take them at face value or whatever these guys tell them that they are, that's what they are. And you don't see anybody coming out, you know, like you got Tim McMillan. I'll pick on Tim because he picked on me earlier. Tim McMillan wrote the article for Popular Mechanics, which we all, most of us have seen. He's a very good writer, and he wrote the article up really nice. He has a math degree. He can easily sit down and figure out that everything I just said about Go Fast is actually true. He won't do it for some reason, or maybe he will. Maybe he'll grow a set and he will actually come out and say it, but hasn't done it so far. But yeah, Tim, I know you're going to listen to this. Grow a pair, and right after you do, take your math degree and utilize it and find out and report on your own the altitude, and if you can, the speed of Go Fast. Let's hear it from you. It's a challenge for you to do it. You're the one with the math degree. Do it. Bet you won't. I wonder why. You want me to tell them? You want to tell them? You're probably sitting there scratching your head wondering what the hell I'm talking about. There's a reason why certain media groups will not go against various stories that they've told in the past. But I seriously doubt that Tim McMillan will actually do a story where he actually goes in and does the math, just like Mick has done, I've done, a whole bunch of people on Debunk has done. If you guys want to see some debunking, go to Debunk and take a look at these 3 videos there, and you can see how each of these videos have been dissected and brought down to the point where it's incredibly disappointing, because on the surface value, all these look really cool in the beginning, but then when you start looking into them, you realize, wow, this really isn't anything. And then you've got, you know, people saying that we were reverse engineering technology from UFOs and things like that without any evidence to support it. I mean, I would love for all that to be true. People that know me know I believe aliens are out there. Do I think they're coming here? Not necessarily. Wouldn't really be a good reason to. I'm going to put that link up again. Again, if anyone wants to come in, you're welcome to. I'm going to not go super long today because I've got another case I'm working on. And that you guys that everyone in here knows. But that's the link. If anyone wants to come in, even if you're just a regular individual and just wants to talk about trying to understand this a little better, have no problem doing that either. And we will shut this down here in just probably, is it 2:04 West Coast? About 10 minutes. I'll shut it down if we don't get anybody coming in. That pilot is all he did was scream. Yeah. God, I almost want to play that the other night. That was some funny shit right there. I don't know about you guys, but that was pretty funny stuff. So I'm guessing the guy was trolling me or punking me or whatever. And if he was, you know, that was cool. You'll notice a couple times I literally had to turn away from the camera because I was about to crack up. And I think he was too. The funny thing is that was not planned. We had no communication ahead of time. And I have no idea, and he hasn't, you know, told me that was a spoof. He was spoofing me or trolling me or whatever, or punking me. So I have no clue. But from all intents and purposes, it damn sure appears as though that is exactly what he was doing. Exactly. That is weird how this screen will show different messages than what's over here. Interesting. So anyway, in a nutshell here, you know, Go Fast is debunked. TTSA, Tim, whoever. First off, TTSA, you really just need to correct at least those two parameters on your page, because right on your page it says that the object is going fast away. Let me see. Let's do TTSA go fast. We'll go right to the page. Go right from there. All right. So here's the vault. Here's the page. Go right down here. The very first sentence. Go fast is an authentic DoD video that captures the high-speed flight of an unidentified aircraft at low altitude by a FA-18 Super Hornet. So in the first sentence, it says high-speed flight, which I don't think 40 or so less miles an hour is, high-speed flight, and low altitude. So if you're in a plane that's at 25,000 feet, what would you consider low altitude to be? In my FAA opinion, anything below the ARSA, which is your 3,000 foot level, would be considered low altitude. So anything below 3,000 feet would be considered low altitude. Well, the object was at 13,000 feet. These guys should have been able to calculate this. Before they came out with this video, they should have done their due diligence. They should have sat down and had the experts that they show on that TV show that they have. You know, this is going the way of ancient aliens. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Unidentified is literally taking the path of ancient aliens. They're just doing whatever they can to keep that TV show going, to keep the media arm of their venture going. We've had these same 3 videos since day one. The videos don't show anything. The Dave Beatty's documentary is far better than anything else out there, because he's actually taken what these guys claim they've seen and put it in a way that visually makes it so you can see and comprehend what their their experience was. And I have no problem with any of the Navy guys. I know they have a problem with me or whatever, because I'm trying to say what I think it is, but you know, you guys are being lied to, and it's just crap. JH says the Mike UFO community has some strange followers, and I think we met one. Yeah, we definitely. Yeah, he's their #1 fighter on the streets there. So you've got their own website saying that you saw the video earlier. You've got their experts that are in there. Lou Elizondo comes in and basically says, "What do you guys think this is?" And they're like, "Holy crap, that thing's hauling ass." Blah blah blah. And when you see that, when I see it, I just shake my head. It's just complete bullshit, absolute bullshit. And I'm glad that it hasn't taken on such a huge following that everyone believes disclosure is actually coming, because they're banking a lot of this disclosure that's supposedly coming out, where the government's going to come clean with all this alien technology that we've had for years and years and years, and Roswell was true, and all of these different things. No, that's not happening. There's not going to be any disclosure. The only disclosure is going to be that what I've told you that these things are, that'll be your disclosure. They'll actually come out and admit that, yeah, it was some spoofing technology. That was it. That's probably what's going to happen, because you're not going to hear that it was the Russians. You're not going to hear it was the Chinese or some other country that has some crazy technology that's so far more advanced than ours. Because if they did have that, you can bet your ass that on both coasts, when both of these events happened, that they would have scrambled aircraft that had weapons from bases that are ready to do that. It's almost embarrassing if you think about it for a moment. So these aircraft can come into our airspace and mess around with our military carrier group and just take off, and no one, they're like, oh, well, I guess they didn't harm us, or they didn't present any issues for us, so we'll just let them go. Bullshit. Total bullshit. If those objects were from another country, or even if they were aliens and they were flying around and they just kind of like went to the cap point and just kind of hung around there for a little bit, it'd be a snowball's chance in hell that they wouldn't do something about that. Absolutely. They would have gone to general quarters, and they would have scrambled aircraft, out of Coronado or Miramar, wherever, and they would have been out there hunting these things down. But these guys are saying they were seeing them all the time. And we're not talking about an isolated event. They were seeing these all the time. They were seeing it over a period of 2 weeks. So I'm going to put my money on it spoofing technology, because based on what I've seen and based on the conversations I've had with people that work at various contractors, yes. And Tim, you can do the same thing. And if you want, I'll even see if this person will talk to you directly. You don't even have to talk to me anymore. You can talk directly to this person. And but let's see your math degree go to work, and let's see you do the go fast. Mike, do you believe Trump sent some form of new tech to Kim Jong doorstep that scared the crap out of him? No, that was a story I completely made up. That was my story to begin with. So wherever you heard that from, that was actually me. I made that up, and partly based on a different issue, but it was right around the same time that something was happening with Russia and Syria. And all right, you did know, okay. But yeah, so that was an interesting time. But I want to apologize to anyone and everyone, including my friend over here, that I actually I did it to him too, and that created an issue. But the only way I could make what I needed to have that story do was to put that in it. Now I could have just debunked and done all these things that I've been doing, but putting that in there created a whole different persona about it. And I took a lot of heat for it. And I'm the one that's taking all the heat from it because, oh, you're a liar, we can't trust you now, or whatever. Okay, well, gee, if that's the case, then you can't trust TTSA either, because they obviously lied and told you that the damn thing was at, near the surface of the ocean, and it was going at 2/3 the speed of sound, when it's already clearly proven that it wasn't. So are you guys going to go after TTSA? Of course not. You'll come after me because I'm an easy target, but you're not going to go over after TTSA and say, well, we're not going to trust you ever again because you're full of shit. They're going to have a problem with it because they have investors, and some of the information that they put out is to basically get investors interested in their organization and to put money into it. So what do? If you're an organization that relies on investors coming in, and something was found out that you've been pushing some information for 3 years that's now proven to be bullshit, what do? So I guess they'll probably keep that page the same. They won't change anything. They're not going to come out and say that they were wrong. They're certainly not going to come out and say that Mike Turber and Mick West was right, and that's why they would change it. They may just secretly change it. Like one day, that information won't be there anymore. It'll be different, and then someday somebody will pick up on that, and that'll be our little silent victory that we know that we probably caused that. So, yeah, do that. Anyway, guys, I'm going to shut it down. Appreciate all you guys coming by. Thank you very much. And as always, love to you all. And we will do another show on Wednesday, and that will be the Vegas show. And I'll give you an update on what's going on with all the Vegas stuff, which will include the lawsuit with Jerry McConnell and the bump stock manufacturer with Slidefire. And we'll go over that stuff and what's going on with the settlement and some other things. So that'll be Wednesday night, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific, if that's a convenient time for everybody. Anyway, let me know. Have a great day. Thank you, moderators, for your help. Appreciate it. And talk to you later.